Renaissance Lecture 1: The High Middle Ages. Europe today is completely different from the Europe of the 15th and 16th centuries. While England, France, Spain, and Portugal have not changed that much in their size, the rest of Europe has seen enormous changes, particularly in the 20th century. In the 15th century, Italy was not a unified country. It was a series of city-states and small kingdoms. The Holy Roman Empire, which no longer exists, covered much of what is now Germany, Poland, and other parts of Eastern Europe, as well as northern Italy. The Ottoman Empire, which also no longer exists, controlled much of southeastern Europe, while Hungary and Lithuania are much smaller today. The Renaissance was a period of cultural revival in Europe that took place over a period of approximately 200 years, from 1400 to 1600 CE. It began with the Italian Renaissance from circa 1401 to about 1527, which was paralleled in Flanders, modern-day Belgium and Holland, by the Northern Renaissance. From Italy and Flanders, this cultural revival spread throughout Europe, most notably to France, England, and Spain. The Renaissance was noted for a number of important developments, most notably the revival of ancient Greek and Roman culture, the associated development of humanism, and the impact of these cultural ideas on art and literature. The Renaissance was not the first time there had been an attempt to revive ancient Greek and Roman culture. In the late 8th century, the Emperor Charlemagne had founded numerous monastic schools to copy and study ancient Roman manuscripts. As a result, monasteries preserved much of the knowledge of ancient Roman culture that later helped inspire the Renaissance. Around the same time, scholars in the Islamic world, most notably at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, preserved many ancient Greek manuscripts. These manuscripts were translated into Arabic, and copies of these works spread throughout the Islamic world, where they inspired new generations of philosophers and scientists. A major center of learning developed in Cordoba and other major cities of Spain, which have been conquered by Islamic armies in the 8th century. In the 12th century, much of Islamic Spain was conquered by Spanish Christians, including the city of Toledo. The new Archbishop of Toledo, Raymond of Toledo, established a special school, later known as Toledo School of Translation, in which Arabic, Jewish, and Christian scholars translated the works of ancient Greek and Islamic scholars into Latin. Among these works was the scholarship of the Spanish Muslim called Ibn Rushd, known in the rest of Europe as Averroes, who lived from 1126 to 1198. Averroes' commentaries on Aristotle were extremely influential on Christian scholars, most notably St. Thomas Aquinas, and helped inspire what became known as the 12th century Renaissance. Ibn Rushd was born in Cordoba into a family of prominent jurists. At the time, Cordoba was the dominant city of Islamic Spain and a major center of learning. As a result, Ibn Rushd was able to study with some of the most important lawyers, doctors, and philosophers in the Islamic world. He later worked as a judge and as a court physician to the ruler of Cordoba. During his lifetime, Ibn Rushd was a very prolific writer, publishing books on medicine, law, linguistics, and philosophy. It is for his philosophical commentaries on Aristotle that Ibn Rushd is best known. These commentaries took three forms, including summaries and paraphrases of key concepts, as well as explanations and interpretations of Aristotle's writings. The commentaries had an enormous impact on both the Western and Islamic worlds by helping scholars better understand the ideas of Aristotle. At the same time, Ibn Rushd defended philosophy, particularly ancient Greek philosophy, against criticism from Islamic theologians, who argued that the Quran, the Muslim holy book, was the source of all knowledge. According to Ibn Rushd, philosophy, that is, the use of reason to reach conclusions, could not contradict revelations in the Quran because they were basically just two different methods of obtaining the truth. According to Ibn Rushd, on those occasions when philosophy seemed to contradict revelation, the solution was to interpret the revelation as an allegory or metaphor in order to remove the contradiction. The translation movement in Spain helped bring Greek philosophical works, as well as the Arab commentaries, to scholars in Western Europe. At the time, most scholars were Catholic priests and monks. These scholars used the new ideas to develop scholasticism, a philosophical movement designed to incorporate Aristotelian logic and other Greek philosophical ideas into Christian theology. The most notable of these scholars was St. Thomas Aquinas, whose work, the Summa Theologica, is seen as the pinnacle of medieval scholarship. Aquinas, who lived from 1225 to 1274, was born into an Italian noble family near Naples. He was educated in Naples and later in Paris and Cologne. He became a member of the Dominican order, which was famous for its teaching and intellectual traditions. In his Summa Theologica, Aquinas adopted Aristotelian logic as the foundation for his disputations. In these disputations, Aquinas would begin by posing a question. For example, does God exist? Providing a clear answer and fully addressing all objections to that answer. In particular, Aquinas used Aristotle as the basis for his theory of knowledge, which in turn provided the foundation for all of his arguments. According to Aquinas and Aristotle, man is a rational animal that is capable of understanding the nature of the universe through human reason. However, as an animal, humans can only know what they experience through their senses. Like Ibn Rushd, Aquinas argued that faith and reason are simply two roots to the same truth, and when reason is no longer sufficient, then faith and revelation will provide the answer. Even here, however, Aquinas relied on Aristotle to provide some insight. For example, he adopted the Aristotelian concept of the prime mover, a consciousness at the center of the universe toward which everything is attracted, which Aquinas identified with the Christian God.